This is the North Coast 500, and this is what every biker can expect. Hey Sprocketeers, welcome back to the channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to the madhouse. Now today we are going to be diving into one of the most breathtaking road trips on the planet. Now I am of course talking about the North Coast 500, also known as the NC500. This means that we're going to be uncovering everything you need to know about this iconic route. This takes us from the rugged landscapes of the Scottish Highlands to all the charming villages nestled along the coast. Now, when it comes to the NC500, it is a journey like no other. So buckle up, grab your favourite travel snacks, and let's go and explore the ins and the outs of the coast road. Now, what exactly is the North Coast 500? The NC500 is a route in the Scottish Highlands which, like the name, takes you just over 500 miles to complete. It features a whole variety of scenery like beaches, mountains, landscapes, castles, and so much more. Now, the reason this route became so increasingly popular was mostly down to it being branded as the NC500 by the Tourism Project Board back in 2015. Since this point, the road trip has become one of the most sought after, and I mean most sought after road trips across the entirety of Europe every single year. So how do you get to the North Coast 500? Now, as I mentioned before, the vast majority of people doing this route are actually European tourists. So if you're watching this video, there's a high chance that you're from Europe too. Which means that the most common route for European bikers is actually to take the ferry from Amsterdam to Newcastle, and then from this point you'll either ride up to Inverness and then complete the route clockwise, or you can continue riding north and then complete the route in an anti-clockwise manner, eventually ending back up at the ferry port. However, if you are watching this and you're based in the UK, you will most likely be subjected to the laborious ride from wherever you are all the way up to Inverness, which no matter which direction you're coming from is horrific. Now this is a really long ride for the vast majority of people in England and Wales. Regardless of whenever you set off, do be prepared to lose an hour just trying to get through Glasgow, regardless of what your sat-nav takes. I don't know why this happens, it's a time vortex, this city. Eventually, when you do get on the other side of Glasgow though, you will then reach the famous A9, which takes you all the way up to Inverness. Of course, there is also the option to jump on a plane, train, bus, and rent a bike in Scotland for those of you who'd prefer not to arrive in pain. But where's the bragging rights in that? And let's be honest, how many of us are that rich? Hello, Mr. Moneybags. The most common question when it comes to the North Coast 500 is how long should I allow for the trip? Now, the trip is incredibly deceptive in terms of miles and length, and the roads on the North Coast 500 are incredibly tight and rural. What looks like 500 miles on paper is actually hours upon hours of riding every single day. And how long you want to spend doing the North Coast 500 is entirely dependent on your pace and your desire to stop off at certain places. Now, having said that, I personally recommend at least 5 days, and this length of time doesn't include the amount of time it takes you to get to the starting point of the trip and also the time it takes you to get back home from the trip. Now, I did do this trip within 5 days, including the time it took to travel up to the start and also back home. So it is doable, but it did feel a little bit squished. But let's be honest, a squished trip is better than no trip at all, so it's entirely at your own discretion as the amount of time. The average recommendation for this trip is 7 full days, again excluding travel time to get to the starting location. And the reason being is that it does allow you plenty of time to actually stop off and explore the areas, as well as getting to go off the trail a little bit and find some of those hidden gems. Now, in terms of the ultimate relaxing road trip holiday, 10 days is definitely your best bet. This is kind of the average amount of time for those who really want to spend more time off the bike and physically exploring and less time riding, but they still want that full road trip experience. So when is the best time to visit? Now, you can of course visit the North Coast 500 at any time in the year. However, the best time to go is completely dependent upon you and your travel plans. When it comes to the quietest time of the year, which is the winter period, the best time to go is between November and March. You'll get to enjoy more or less the exact same route without the constant navigating around passing vehicles on tight bends. However, naturally with the winter months, you are limited in terms of sunlight, warmth, and also open amenities. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the summer season is equally a nightmare, but for a whole variety of other reasons. Summertime is the time of year where every man, van, dog and family will be doing this road trip. And whilst the sun is enjoyable, then the days are much longer. You will find yourself at the mercy of long queues, both on the route and also at the petrol station. Now, as bikers, we do have a major advantage being able to navigate around larger vehicles. However, it's still ultimately going to slow you down. And there were a lot of times when I went in summer, I found myself unable to get around vehicles, especially when there was like 2 buses coming either way. Now, in addition to this, vehicles aren't your only problem. You are going to see the height of midgy biting season. So if you are camping, beware. Arguably the best time to do the North Coast 500 is either in springtime or the autumn seasons. I personally think that between March and June is the best time to go. Whilst it's not going to be as warm as you'd like, you can tactfully avoid those horrific bugs, and you still have the benefit of a little bit of longer daylight as well. Now, when it comes to accommodation in Scotland, there are a lot of options. There are great campsites, hotels, B&Bs, also glamping pods all over the North Coast 500. Now, if you're not planning to wild camp, do make sure you book accommodation well in advance. And I'm talking months, especially during tourist season, or you can guarantee that you will not have a place to stay. Whilst you may get lucky with a last-minute cancellation here and there, you absolutely will not be able to just rock up and guarantee that you will have a bed that night. I also personally don't recommend that you stay in holiday homes that don't have a previous booking, especially if you're a lone traveller. There has been a few times where I've been travelling around Scotland and I've been offered to stay at a local Airbnb for cash in hand. And I have been made this offer about 4 times in the past on various different trips. Now, I'm sure that it's most likely fine. However, the thing that you should remember is that aside from the safety issues and hoping that they do actually own the property, something you should be wary of is the fact that your travel insurance just may not be valid. If your vehicle goes missing or something like a camera disappears or gets broken on these kinds of properties where they are not legitimate Airbnb, you're not going to be covered ultimately. On to the next topic, which is clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now, a big topic of contention when it comes to the North Coast 500 is the direction to do it in. You can drive around the route in 2 different directions. Now, anti-clockwise is fairly popular and you basically just start on the east coast and finish on the west, whereas in terms of clockwise, it's just as the name suggests, you start on the west coast and then end up on the east. Now, people might come at me in the comments, but I personally think that the east coast of the North Coast 500 is extremely underwhelming and not worth doing. So I personally recommend that you do the route in an anti-clockwise manner so that you start on the boring part and finish on a high. Alternatively, if you do want to do it in a clockwise manner, I personally suggest you just do a U-turn when you reach John O'Groats and then just head back down the better side. Don't kill me in the comment section. Now, there are a plethora of areas to visit on the North Coast 500 and they all look a little bit like this. unless you plan to spend a good few weeks on the route, or alternatively plan to do a speed run, you do need to accept the fact that you are just physically not going to be able to see everything on your motorbike road trip. So you should make sure to research and prioritize what's really important to you. Now, this leads me on to my next important point, which is planning is essential to make the most out of your North Coast 500 trip. Now, you can use a guidebook, you can watch a whole variety of YouTube videos, and you can even make a rough itinerary. I did a bit of a hybrid method where I headed up north, and then each evening I would do a little bit of research as to where I wanted to go the following day, and it was also allowed me to make a route that was dependent upon the weather. However, I also travel solo, so I don't have any of the pain points of needing to coordinate a group, so I did have that flexibility in terms of what I wanted to do. If you were going to take a group on the North Coast 500, do try to plan and try to keep the miles down as low as possible for the weakest rider in your group. But I think the more people that are coming on the trip, the more organized you need to be in order to make sure that you maximize the amount of time. If you're somebody who is going up as a solo traveler, I honestly think you can just get away with what I was doing, which was just deciding every single evening where you were going to go. Now, embarking on the North Coast 500 is an adventure like no other, for more than one reason, because depending on what time you go, you will most certainly be eaten alive by midges. Now, the midges in Scotland are a whole nother breed of bug. I personally blame the iron brew, but they are basically tiny airborne party crashers with a pendant for human seasoning. But saying that, rumour has it, I've not yet tried this, but I will be trying it next summer. Apparently Avon So Soft is a secret weapon against these winged fiends. I haven't tested it yet, but packing it feels like preparing for a glamorous insect repellent fashion show. If the midges don't flee in fear, at least I'll dazzle them with my wonderful soft radiant skin. But more importantly, it highlights a more important issue, which is you can never have enough midge repellent or citronella candles, sprays, moisturizers, whatever you think you need, pack at least twice when it comes to the North Coast 500, because if you don't, you'll end up doing what I had to do, which was paying £10 for a bottle of midge spray, which would normally be about £1.50 in a cheap store. The other thing that I want to talk about as well is washing machines. This is one of the North Coast 500's lesser known surprises. For those of you who will be wild camping in Scotland, which by the way is completely legal, providing you are respectful and do clean up after yourself. However, when it comes to motorcycle touring, packing light is absolute key. However, when it comes to multi-day trips, you can imagine the wonderful scent coming from repeatedly wearing the same 2 sets of clothes over and over. Now, what you might not know is that there are public coin and contactless payment washing machines scattered along the route like unexpected oases of cleanliness. Oh, how I'd wish I'd known about these laundry sanctuaries before my first trip. There's also a public map online where you can find out the location of the machines as well, which you can find in the description below. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is petrol stations. Now, I had heard that petrol stations on the North Coast 500 were far and few between before I set off on my very first trip. But I'll be honest, I thought people were being a little bit dramatic, and I was used to the idea of infrequently being half an hour away from a fuel stop. Oh, how naive, very naive I was. When it comes to navigating the North Coast 500 on a motorcycle, it is a thrilling adventure, but it is one that demands some kind of strategic planning, particularly when it comes to fuel stops. This means that every petrol station more or less becomes a precious waypoint. I'm being very serious, folks. You have been warned, or at least take an additional petrol canister just in case. Now, I hope that you found these tips and tricks useful, whether you're a seasoned biker or just somebody who confuses a clutch with a clutch purse. Until next week, my name's Saffy Sprocket. May your midgy spray be strong and glorious. Signing off.